of Languages, Literature and Communication, Professor Sauda Namialo, who is currently engaged somewhere, but in the course of the presentation and the discussion, Dean Sauda might join us, and as soon as she joins us, I might hand over the chair back to her, but that depends on how far we will have moved by that time. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this public defense. First of all, I would like to congratulate the candidate, Ms. Abius Tushemerirwe, for reaching this far and having her work authorized for this oral defense. Of course, the procedure is that for Makerere University, for her to reach this far and defend the work orally, it means the examiners were satisfied with the work at that time, and they passed it as good enough to proceed to defense. Now, what we want to know is whether the candidate actually did this work and she has the command of our work. And I think that's the essence of oral defense. Is this work yours? Do you know it? Can you defend it? So I think that's what brings us today. I would like to appreciate and recognize the supervisors of the candidate, Professor Edith Natukunda-Togboa, very committed member of staff of the school, and Dr. Yanetsy Acevedo Garcia, who is not here physically, but I'm told is online. We recognize and appreciate you for all the effort and support in bringing the students this far. So this is how we are going to proceed. We shall have the candidate present, and because this is a unique PhD in Spanish language, but being defended in an English-speaking university, we are going to request that the candidate first give a 15-minute presentation of our work in English, and I hope she's done that. I mean, she has prepared that presentation in English. And then after that, the candidate is free to do another 20 minutes presentation in Spanish, so that she can engage with the examiners who are also Spanish speakers, I'm told. And then after that, we shall invite the opponent of the candidate, who we are told is online, Dr. Seto Novita, and we shall give the opponent a maximum of 40 minutes to engage with the candidate or to raise issues. And I think he has been given guidance how to proceed. We hope the network will allow us to have this engagement. And then after this, we shall have the panelists. I have a team of 3 panelists. I have Professor Lilia Munoz, who is online and will go first. I have Dr. Margaret Nanfuka, and I have Dr. Benon Chigozi. Each of the panelists will be given a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes. And I would request that they now focus on the things which are pertinent to the thesis, but hopefully they will avoid most of the things that the opponent will have touched on, so that we can save time, so that we can add value. Yeah, but I'll leave them to decide how they will use their 10 or 15 minutes. And then after this, we shall open up for discussion to the public. So the public will have about 10 to 15 minutes to ask questions, and the candidate will wait for all the questions to be asked, directed by the chair, and then she will take note of them, and then she will respond to them at once. But of course, for the opponents, they will engage with the candidate directly. The question that they will have raised, the candidate will respond to. But maybe to save time, it would be but I wouldn't want to limit, but it would have been best if maybe the candidate takes all the questions from the panelists and then she responds all at once. But I leave that to the panelists. They'll have that freedom. And then after that, the examiners will take a retreat to decide whether the candidate are satisfied the requirements for the award of the degree, subject of course to addressing comments and changes we will have been suggested by the panelists, the opponents, and members of the public. So I think that's how we are going to proceed, unless anybody want to ask any pertinent question now. So Farouk is our technical person on the computers and the Zoom. I hope everybody is on and we can proceed. Abius, it's now my pleasure to invite you to give us a presentation of your work. You can do about 15 minutes in English, and then you can do the rest of 20 minutes in Spanish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Today, good afternoon, buenas tardes, buenos días, assalamu alaikum, bonsoir. My name is Tushemerirwe Abius. I'm a lecturer here at Makerere University under the Department of European and Oriental Languages. My supervisors have been addressed. I welcome you all to this PhD public defense with the title, The Use of Spanish Songs from Latin America in Learning Spanish Language at Makerere University and the University of Ghana. This will be the summary of today's presentation. Now, music, language, and communication are three universal components in every culture that exists on the universe. We emphasize that learning a language is more than memorizing grammar or vocabulary. It is a journey into a heart of a new culture, to learn new perspectives, also to make a connection with humans in the new culture. Past research has emphasized that singing along to songs in Spanish language from Latin America not only helps in increasing the vocabulary, but it helps for the students to learn regional accents as well as slangs. This dissertation served as a powerful call to action to advocate for for songs in Spanish language in Spanish language learning. We aim therefore at making a strong argument for implementing a creative and captivating technique in Spanish language learning. Here we can up the different countries that speak Spanish around the globe from the 3 different continents around the globe. 21 countries in number. Also, Arbares in 2023 has argued that approximately 500 million people around the globe use Spanish as their native language, and this puts Spanish language in the 2nd position after Mandarin from China. Approximately 100 million people use Spanish language as their 2nd language around the globe. This is taken from Instituto Cervantes in 2023. These are the key terms for this study. A foreign language, one would ask. This is a language which is taught in a society, but in the same society is not commonly used. What would be the problem of this study? Research has been conducted on the teaching of Spanish language in many parts of the world and on its role to promote international trade, diplomacy, cultural and educational exchange. Nonetheless, little has been written on tracing the pedagogical content and approaches. Especially in African universities, specifically Sub-Sahara, documenting Spanish language teaching is not given much attention with respect to its global importance. Our focus on Spanish teaching is being hindered by different challenges, like unmotivated attitude on the part of students, also anxiety and low engagement. This study, therefore, proposed documenting an experiential approach to Spanish language learning using songs in Spanish language from Latin America in comparison to the conventional methods of this language learning at Makerere University. There are 4 Spanish objectives that guided this study. to identify the approaches used in Spanish learning at Makerere University. Second, to document the experiential use of Spanish songs from Latin America in learning Spanish at Makerere University. To analyze the motivational role of Latin America's Spanish songs in learning Spanish language. And to trace the cultural learnings that are facilitated when you use songs in Spanish language from Latin America in a Spanish classroom, in a Spanish language classroom. A lot of literature was reviewed. For today's presentation, we can emphasize on what Spielberger in 1983 has defined as anxiety. He defines it as a subjective feeling which results from tension, apprehension, and can result in arousal in the automatic nervous system. Wick in 2023 has defined the affective filter as a negative psychological barrier which occurs when students are faced with negative emotions like stress, like boredom, like lack of motivation in class. And as a result, this impedes these students from absorbing comprehensible inputs. 3 theories have directed this study. The first one being for David Kolb's in 2015. He expresses about the experiential learning, which he also calls learning by doing. That learning not only occurs after just discovering the language, but rather you have to construct the knowledge through experiences. The main theory that guides this study is the theory of Stephen Krashen in 1982, which he calls the affective filter theory. He explains in depth that when this affective filter is present, it means that the level of anxiety for the students is elevated, is high. And he says it results impossible for students to absorb comprehensible inputs. He therefore emphasizes to all educators, to lecturers, all teachers of languages, to always find creative means, to find ways of creating conducive atmosphere for the students to be able to assimilate the comprehensible input, in this case the language being taught, after lowering down this affective filter, also known as the psychological filter. The methodology of this study is qualitative and descriptive. It has taken a comparative approach between the University of Makerere and the University of Ghana. The sample size was selected purposively in the months of June to October last year, 2024. The methods used were focus group discussions, class observations, and interviews. A lot of desk documentation review was done to get the historical context of the Spanish program at the above mentioned universities. Also, to control the data, we went through the process of triangulation to make sure that the data could conform with reliability and validity. Ethical consideration was respected. From this representation, we can appreciate that 75 students from the University of Ghana participated in the interviews from year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4 of study. At Makerere University, a total of 25 students were interviewed. Historically, at the University of Ghana, Spanish was introduced in 1964. Currently, it's being taught at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. The key component from the University of Ghana to enhance Spanish learning is El Club Hispánico, also known as Hispanic Club. This is for all the students who are learning Spanish language at the university. This is thanks to the MOUs that have been signed between Ghana with the Republic of Spain as well as Colombia. At Makerere University, which is a pioneer in Spanish teaching considering the East African region on the continent, Spanish started in 2016. It was approved by the Senate Council in 2014 and commenced being taught in 2018. To align with the objective of today's study, lecturers at Makerere University were able to express the different conventional approaches that are used in teaching Spanish language. They expressed that using grammar translational method is key, especially for the students who come in their first year. They said that it helps for the students to be able to learn explicitly the grammatical rules, as well as learning to do translation of sentences from the target language to the native language and vice versa. That this focus helps especially in the reading and writing skills, but it gives little emphasis to the listening, comprehension, and speaking capacities of the students. During the class observation at the University of Ghana, one of the lecturers argued that, I quote, using virtual methods of teaching is preferred, especially during unfavorable weather conditions and because the data is affordable for the students. And the students commented that they love this method of teaching because it gives them time to consult with their dictionaries. It helps them to participate actively in class. At Makerere University, the lecturer informed that this using virtual method of teaching Spanish language is a challenge because the students do not have data and some do not even have the gadgets. So when they use it, the results are poor performance from the students. The students also emphasized that using virtual means of learning is a challenge for them due to problems with connectivity as well as internet challenges. To align with the second objective of this study, the experiential use of Spanish songs from Latin America, the students from the University of Ghana were able to express that using songs in Spanish language from Latin America in learning Spanish language helps them to improve their pronunciation and accents. They emphasize that it helps for them to improve intonation and as well as articulation of the different words. This, as a result, gives them confidence in themselves, and then they are able to express themselves orally. At Makerere University, from the year 1 and year 2 students, they claimed that when they use songs in their classes, they are able to remember what they've been taught and what they hear from the song thanks to the repetitive nature of these songs as well as the catchy lyrics of the songs. They gave examples of La Gozadera by Gente de Zona, Despacito by Luis Fonsi, that this helps them to reinforce correct pronunciation, and as a result, they feel free to express themselves orally. We also realized after doing class observations with year 1 and year 2 students that they are able to acquire vocabulary. After we communicated with our lecturers and they were able to express that during their lectures when they are using songs, for example, darte un beso, what they do, they ask students to list the verbs in the song, as we can see in the first column, also to tell the different form of verbs as well as the meaning. To align with the third objective of today's study, the motivational role of using Spanish songs from Latin America in learning Spanish language. The students at the University of Ghana were able to express that when they use songs which are in Spanish language from Latin America, it helps them to reduce anxiety. They express that the rhythmic and repetitive nature of songs allows them to practice the language patterns without fear of making mistakes, just like what happens when they are in a formal setting. That this supportive environment reduces the pressure for the students to perform, and it is a pleasant and memorable way of them being engaged. They express that this process, when they use songs in Spanish language from Latin America, it feels more meaningful and joyous for them. To align with the fourth objective of today's study, the cultural learnings as facilitated when you use songs in Spanish language from Latin America. The lecturers at Makerere University were able to point out that when they use these songs, it helps with cultural sensitivity. It exposes the students to a wide range of cultural perspectives. They further claimed that when they use these songs in classroom, they help the students to recognize and appreciate diversity, and thus promoting global citizenship. I invite you all to appreciate the pictorial gloss. This is from the University of Ghana. Casa Hispanica is a space designated for the Spanish section at the university, and this is where all the students who are learning Spanish language are able to meet up and practice music, dance, and drama in Spanish. As we can see next, the students are practicing singing in Spanish. Next, students are practicing dancing salsa, and this other photo was taken during La Semana de Hispanidad, meaning the Hispanic Week. This is a week designated for students to do co-curricular activities. The gentleman has a t-shirt that says La lengua está en la lengua, to mean the language is in the tongue. This is at Makerere University. El Día de Español. This was a celebration of the Spanish Day, and you can see students also showcasing their dance. And also we see administrators, and also there is the last photo down at the bottom of administrators with the diplomats, representatives of the Embassy of Spain, of Cuba, and Equatorial Guinea, the only Spanish-speaking country. In conclusion, we note that use of songs in Spanish language from Latin America helps in enhancing Spanish language learning. They address cultural, linguistic, and motivational needs. We also note that the integration of these songs in the classroom helps to create a favorable and conducive atmosphere, which helps to reduce the anxiety on the part of students. That songs are a horizontal delivery mechanism, whereby students are able to learn amidst themselves. Even it encourages individual learning, whereby anyone can listen to music and learn Spanish individually. Also that it is an innovative and creative pedagogical methodology of Spanish language learning. This is a call, therefore, to adopt and invest in this methodology. For recommendation, 3 sectors were considered: the teaching, infrastructure, and policy. At Makerere, for both universities, there is need to systematically include songs in Spanish language into the curricula. Also, there is need for focusing on reggaeton and culturally rich genres so that students don't get bored, but rather they be motivated. For the part of lecturers, we need to provide lyrics and context for deeper understanding. Structure-wise, Makerere should designate space for Spanish learning, as well as acquire adequate technology and literature for the students. Ghana should maintain and expand the model of El Club Hispanico. Both universities need to train lecturers in song-based pedagogy. There is need for cooperation between Spanish sections at both universities, as well as need for cooperation with Spanish sections at both universities with their corresponding music sections. Makerere University should establish scholarships by signing MOUs with different Spanish-speaking countries, just like Ghana. This would give continuity to the students. Both should advocate for Spanish in their national education curriculum. The contribution of this study is a creative methodology of Spanish language learning. Also a comparative study which has dealt with different approaches in Spanish language learning. This study deals with a new language approach which should be taken up, which contributes to Makerere's approach of teaching Spanish language and for the generations to come. For future research, we suggest that future research can deal with using the same motivational songs, but now putting emphasis on the writing skills as well as creative skills. That future research can explore the effects of using other genres of music or songs apart from reggaeton. They can even consider using songs from Spain. Future research should also consider using artificial intelligence, because now it is what is on trend globally. Special acknowledgement to the supervisors, Professora Edith Natukunda-Togboa and Dr. Professora Yanetsy Garcia Acevedo. We say thank you to Makerere Staff Development Scheme for the financial support, as well as SLEC. We say thank you to the Doctoral Committee, to DGT, and specifically to the University of Ghana for opening their doors for us to be able to do data collection, specifically with the Department of Modern Languages. To my parents who are listening online, to my husband who has been the wind below my wings, and to my children who are the key motivators. I say thank you to the PhD fellow students for the encouragement, specifically to AGAT from since inception. I say thank you to all the members of DIOL and the participants who are here physically and those online. Thank you. Buenas tardes, buenos días, a good afternoon. Mi nombre es Tushemerirwe Abius. Doy bienvenidas a todos ustedes para mi defensa pública de tesis doctoral con el título El uso de canciones en idioma de español de América Latina en el aprendizaje de la lengua española en la Universidad de Makerere y la Universidad de Ghana. Aquí tenemos el sumario. Notamos que música, lenguaje y comunicación son tres componentes universales que existen en cada cultura y que en cada cultura estos tres componentes siempre existen. También anotamos que esto se trata de una llamada que promueve el uso de las canciones de la lengua española en la enseñanza del idioma de español. Anotamos también que aprender un lenguaje no solamente se trata de aprender la parte gramática o de vocabulario, sino es llegar al corazón de esta cultura y también hacer una conexión humana. Entonces, este estudio trabaja para hacer una implementación de técnicas creativas y cautivadoras en el aprendizaje de español. Aquí están los diferentes países hispanohablantes a nivel global. Son 21 en total. Álvarez en 2023 afirma que alrededor de 500 millones de poblaciones a nivel global usan español como lengua nativa. Y esto coloca el español en segunda posición después de mandarín. También aproximadamente 100 millones de población a nivel global usa español como su segunda lengua. Los términos principales son música, canción, idioma extranjera y ansiedad. Para esta discusión se toma la definición de canción por Samarang en 2008, quien define canción como la parte de la música que solo tiene que incluir texto o palabras o letras. El planteamiento del problema de esta investigación. Anotamos que se han realizado diferentes investigaciones sobre la enseñanza de español en muchas partes del mundo y también por su gran papel en promover cooperación internacional y también por intercambios educacionales y culturales. Sin embargo, en las universidades africanas, sobre todo subsaharan, no prestan atención a la enseñanza del español según se debe. Este estudio, entonces, propone documentar un enfoque experiencial del aprendizaje de español. Los objetivos de esta investigación, primero, identificar los enfoques utilizados hasta ahora en el aprendizaje de español en la Universidad de Makerere y la Universidad de Ghana. Segundo, documentar el uso experiencial de las canciones en español de América Latina en el aprendizaje de la lengua española en la Universidad de Makerere. Analizar el papel motivador de las canciones en español de América Latina en el aprendizaje de español. Y cuarto objetivo es trazar los aprendizajes culturales facilitados por el uso de canciones en español de América Latina en la clase de español. Mucha literatura ha sido revisada. Para propósito de esta discusión y presentación de hoy, vamos a definir qué significa lengua extranjera según Moira en 2015. Ella define una lengua extranjera como aquella lengua que está enseñada en la sociedad, pero no se practica mucho en la misma sociedad donde se está enseñando. Ansiedad. Lo define como los sentimientos negativos que resultan cuando los estudiantes se enfrentan con emociones negativas, como el estrés, aburrimiento y falta de motivación. El filtro afectivo, según Wick en 2015, lo define como una barrera psicológica negativa que impide que los estudiantes puedan comprender o absorber conocimientos enseñados. 3 orientaciones teóricas han guiado esta investigación. Primera teoría es de Kolb-David sobre aprendizaje experimental en 2015. Kolb-David define que el aprendizaje de un lenguaje no solo ocurre de forma abstracta, sino que los estudiantes tienen que pasar sobre 3 diferentes fases. Primero, para obtener los conocimientos y después hacer una reflexión de estas mismas ideas y después hacer un análisis de lo que han reflejado y al final poder sintetizar y así crear nuevas ideas. La teoría principal de este estudio está dado por Stephen Krashen en 1982, donde define la hipótesis de filtro afectivo. También lo llaman el filtro psicológico o barrera negativa psicológica. Como se pueden apreciar de las caras de los estudiantes, cuando este filtro está elevado, resulta imposible para los estudiantes poder comprender lo que están enseñando. Entonces, impide que todos los profesores educadores deben buscar maneras de tener los estudiantes más motivados a través de bajar este filtro afectivo. Y en esta investigación descubrimos que el uso de canciones en la lengua española desde América Latina ayuda para bajar este filtro. La metodología de esta investigación es cualitativa y descriptiva y ha tomado el enfoque comparativo, comparando la Universidad de Makerere con la Universidad de Ghana. La muestra fue seleccionada de forma intencional en los meses de junio a octubre del año pasado 2024. Los métodos utilizados fueron grupos focales, observaciones a clase y entrevista. Mucha revisión documental fue hecha para así poder extraer el contexto histórico de los programas de español en las dos universidades mencionadas. Para controlar la calidad de los datos, se hizo el proceso de triangulación, así asegurando que los datos sean o tengan fiabilidad y validez. También se respetó profundamente consideraciones éticas. Históricamente, en la Universidad de Ghana, el español fue introducido en el año 1964. Actualmente, se dan el español a nivel de licenciatura y también de posgraduado. El punto clave que anotamos es que existe el club hispánico muy activado en la Universidad de Ghana. Y esto es gracias al firmar memorándum de entendimiento entre Ghana con las repúblicas de España y de Colombia. En la Universidad de Makerere, anotamos que el español empezó en el año 2006 a cortos plazos. Y en el año 2018 es cuando se empezó a dar las clases. Para alinear con el primer objetivo de esta investigación, destacamos cuáles son los diferentes enfoques pedagógicos. Los profesores desde la Universidad de Makerere anotaron que utilizan mucho el método de traducción gramatical, donde expresan que es bien importante para los estudiantes adquirir vocabulario a través de los profesores, enseñar a los estudiantes traduciendo palabra por palabra y también oración tras oración. Para alinear con el segundo objetivo de esta investigación, el uso experiencial de las canciones en la lengua española desde América Latina en las clases. Los estudiantes desde la Universidad de Ghana se expresaron que esto es muy importante para ayudarles con la pronunciación y también para mejorar la tonación. Se expresaron que cuando se escuchan estas canciones, les ayudan para escuchar la forma repetitiva de las canciones, sobre todo de los coros, y esas palabras o letras se quedan en su memoria, y así escuchan cómo se pueden pronunciar bien. Esto apoya a los estudiantes para poder expresarse de forma oral. En la profundidad, anotamos que el uso de las canciones ayuda para vocabulario y ayuda a los estudiantes también para aprender expresiones coloquiales, por ejemplo, qué chévere. Y también tomando en cuenta que diferentes países hispanohablantes tienen diferentes acentos. Entonces las canciones ayudan a los estudiantes para aprender diferentes acentos a nivel regional. También ayudan con la pronunciación porque cantar mejora la fonética. Ayuda con la gramática porque las letras de las canciones refuerzan las estructuras de forma natural. Los estudiantes destacaron ejemplos de canciones como Despacito por Luis Fonsi, por Gozadera de Gente de Zona, por Darte un Beso por Prince Royce, Vivir mi Vida por Marc Anthony. Y de forma general, los estudiantes de ambas universidades destacaron que las canciones hacen que sus clases sean más divertidas y memorables. Para alinear con el tercer objetivo de esta investigación, el papel motivador de las canciones. Los estudiantes desde la Universidad de Ghana se expresaron que estas canciones, cuando se utilizan en el aula, les ayuda para reducir ansiedad. De modo que ellos se sienten mucho más motivados en el aula, se sienten libres y no se sienten aburridos y sin motivación. Para alinear con el objetivo número 4 de esta investigación, los aprendizajes culturales facilitados por las canciones en la lengua española de América Latina, según reconocen los profesores en la Universidad de Makerere. Los profesores afirman que estas canciones ayudan a los estudiantes para apreciar diferentes culturas de los países hispanohablantes y así los estudiantes pueden relacionar estas diferentes culturas de los países hispanohablantes con las culturas de ellos mismos aquí en el continente africano. Y como resultado, estas canciones ayudan para que los estudiantes puedan desarrollar empatía y también respeto de diferentes culturas, así teniendo inteligencia cultural y desarrollándose con ciudadanía global. En profundidad, las canciones son artefactos culturales que reflejan valores, historia e identidad. Y también ayudan a los estudiantes en el continente africano para relacionarse con las culturas similares en Latinoamérica. En conclusión, concluimos que usar las canciones en español desde América Latina ayuda para mejorar el aprendizaje de la lengua española y también ayuda para resolver problemas, necesidades culturales, lingüísticas y motivacionales. Usar las canciones en la lengua española de América Latina ayuda para promover estrategias de enseñanza creativas y entonces esta es una llamada a la acción para adoptar e invertir en esta metodología. Como recomendación, recomendamos a 3 diferentes sectores de enseñanza, de infraestructura y de política, donde se debe integrar las canciones en los planes de estudios o currículo. También las canciones que se usen en el aula deben ser cautivantes para resolver el problema de falta de motivación. Por parte de estructura, la Universidad de Makerere necesita o debe designar espacio, adquirir tecnologías adecuadas y literaturas para la sección de español. Ghana necesita mantener y ampliar el modelo del club hispánico. Y estas 2 universidades deben formar futuros profesores con la pedagogía basada en esas canciones. Se recomienda también cooperación entre las secciones de español en las 2 universidades y además cooperación de las secciones de español en las 2 universidades con sus correspondientes secciones de la música. Para la Universidad de Makerere se necesita establecer becas con los países hispanohablantes a través de firmar memorándums de entendimiento con los países hispanohablantes, tal como lo está haciendo Ghana, y así va a dar continuidad al programa de español a estos estudiantes. Ambas universidades necesitan promover el español en las políticas nacionales. Para contribuimos una metodología creativa para el aprendizaje y también estudio comparativo de diferentes enfoques de español. Esta es una contribución a un nuevo nivel de aprendizaje a nivel universitario que también va a seguir ayudando en las próximas generaciones. Para investigaciones en el futuro, las investigaciones en el futuro pueden explorar los efectos de uso de otros géneros aparte de reggaetón, pueden usar hasta canciones en la lengua española desde diferentes países como España. En investigaciones del futuro también se puede usar se puede estudiar cómo se usa inteligencia artificial en el aprendizaje de la lengua española y también cómo usar canciones motivadoras, pero estrictamente para mejorar la habilidad escrita. Agradecemos profundamente a las supervisoras, profesora Edith Natukunda-Togboa, la doctora profesora Yanetsy Acevedo Garcia. Agradecemos al comité doctoral y a los panelistas. Agradecemos al Departamento de Idiomas Europeas y Orientales de Makerere. Agradecemos a la Escuela de Lenguas, Literatura y Comunicación de Makerere, al Colegio de Humanidad y Ciencias Sociales de la Universidad de Makerere, a la Dirección de Formación Postgraduado de Makerere, al programa Desarrollar del Personal de Makerere que han pagado por mi escuela, gracias por su apoyo financiero, y al Centro de Idiomas de la misma Universidad de Makerere. También de forma especial agradecer a la Universidad de Ghana por darme la oportunidad de recoger mis datos de su universidad, específicamente Departamento de Lenguas Modernas. Agradecer a los compañeros de doctorado y todos los participantes aquí físicamente y de forma virtual. A mis padres que están oyendo de forma virtual. Para mi familia, agradecer profundamente a mi esposo, quien siempre es el viento debajo de mis alas, y a mis dos motivadores, que son mis hijos. A todo el mundo, muchas gracias.
Hello. So Abius, if you want to sit for a few seconds, it's up to you. I know you've been standing for almost an hour. Yeah, you can just take a seat. If there is water around you, you can have a sip. Okay. So thank you very much, Abius, for this very elaborate presentation. I think we will now invite the opponent. Can try and bring him online. Yeah, so we'll now invite the opponent, who is Dr. Seto Novieto. I might not pronounce the name as a Spaniard should, or somebody who speaks Spanish. Yeah, but I believe I've not done much injustice to the name. Dr. Novieto, you have about 40 minutes to engage with the candidate. You might decide to use all of that, or you might decide to use only half of that. That is really precisely up to you.
Okay.
Yes, and how you want to engage the candidate is entirely up to you. You can make it conversational, or you ask questions, she responds, and you can also make some comments. It is up to you, really. But we believe your engagement should be able to help the candidate to improve the quality of the work. And feel free to use Spanish or English or both as you deem right. So thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. If you can hear me loud and clear, then that is fine. Thank
We
you
can-
so much. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Please proceed.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Abi, congratulations to you for the presentation. Say,
Thank you so much.
¿cómo te sientes ahora? ¿Bien?
Oh, mucho mejor, gracias.
Después de como una hora de presentación en inglés y español.
Me siento bastante bien, muchísimas gracias.
Vale, vale. Sí, no son preguntas como tales, a veces solamente son aclaraciones, ¿no? Preguntas para que puedas aclarar algunas cosas, ¿no? Ok, vamos a empezar. Yo quiero saber por qué elegiste el tema.
Perdona, por favor,
Sí.
aquí me están preguntando si no es molestia, si se puede, por favor, usted puede poner su video para que le puedan ver, si no es ninguna molestia, por favor.
Ok, no, está bien. A ver,
Sí, por favor.
estoy.
Por favor, gracias. Repetirme esta pregunta, gracias.
¿Está bien? ¿Está bien? ¿Se puede ver?
Ahora sí, gracias.
Vale. Sí, con la sonrisa. Empezamos con la sonrisa. La pregunta es, ¿por qué elegiste el tema? No, el título de la investigación. ¿Por qué elegiste este tema? Para empezar.
¿Cómo le gustaría que yo sigo respondiendo por cada pregunta? ¿Está bien?
Sí, es una conversación, así que puedes seguir contestándolo.
De acuerdo, muchas gracias. Entonces, ¿por qué uso de canción? ¿Por qué este tema? Sí, claro, es bien interesante la pregunta y muchas gracias. Se escogió usar hacer un estudio de investigación usando canciones que están en el idioma de español, pero desde América Latina por diferentes razones. Ahora, primera razón, ¿por qué canciones? Sería interesante también. Esto se escogió las canciones porque por sus características las canciones, sus letras ayudan mucho cuando los estudiantes escuchan las canciones, ayudan que de forma repetitiva ellos les faciliten para recordar la información y así adquiriendo vocabulario. Y segundo, también les ayuda mucho sobre todo en la hora de pronunciación. Porque cuando los estudiantes aprenden un idioma extranjero, quiere decir un idioma que no se utiliza mucho en la sociedad donde lo están aprendiendo, resulta difícil ellos mejorar su habilidad de expresión oral. Entonces, resulta muy importante cuando se escuchan las canciones para pronunciar, escuchar la entonación y también tomando en cuenta que esta lengua de español que enseñamos o que los estudiantes tienen que aprender está hablado en 21 diferentes países alrededor del mundo, donde en cada uno de estos países tienen sus diferentes acentos a nivel regional y también es clave para que los estudiantes cuando escuchen canciones de diferentes países puedan así asimilar expresiones coloquiales y también diferentes acentos. Gracias.
Vale. Sí, buena respuesta. Ahora, solamente para saber por qué las canciones de Latinoamérica y no de España.
Muchas gracias, doctor. Sí, las canciones de Latinoamérica, como tengo anotado en el ámbito de esta investigación, y no de España. Y desde Latinoamérica también puedo profundizar y decir que se estudió o se utilizó en esta investigación canciones de reggaetón desde Cuba, desde Puerto Rico y también desde República Dominicana. Esto es gracias a estas canciones en reggaetón por su manera de ser cautivadoras y también por ser motivadoras, porque desde España existen diferentes tipos de canciones, donde también en mayoría de las veces son canciones utilizadas por cada diferente provincia en España y tienen diferentes significados según la cultura de esta provincia. Tomando en cuenta que los estudiantes, tanto en la Universidad de Makerere como en la Universidad de Ghana, son estudiantes que aún no han estudiado español en niveles de secundarias. Entonces llegan en la universidad y tienen que comenzar aprendiendo el español a nivel de los beginners, a nivel de cero, no saben nada. Entonces se utilizan las canciones de reggaetón sobre todo por la claridad que tienen las letras y también por el ritmo, porque son motivadoras. Gracias.
Y por el ritmo. Vale. Ahora, quiero saber, los profesores de español, ¿no?, con quienes hablaste durante tu entrevista, ¿qué puedes decir es sus opiniones sobre el tema, ¿no?, en Ghana y en Makerere University? ¿Qué puedes decir? Sí.
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. Tengo mucho. Generally about what you are doing, your work. What did they think about the topic? Are they happy? Are they enthusiastic about what you intended to do? What do you think when you met them with the topic and you told them this is what I want to do? What did they say to you?
Thank you so very much, Doctor. So I will respond this in English because you've posed it in both languages. At Makerere University first, and then I'll go to the University of Ghana. The question being, how did the fellow lecturers of Spanish language react to my topic when they heard about it? At Makerere University, two of my colleagues. One is late, may her soul rest in peace, Madame Penina, and my other colleague who's returned back to Spain. So at the start, I was with one of them, and she was really, really happy with me. She was excited. She was like, yes, music, that is something, Abby. And she was also doing her PhD studies of teaching Spanish language, but now in high school in Uganda. So that's why she moved from Salamanca and was teaching with me at Makerere University, at the same time doing her data collection. She was really excited, and we were going through trainings together. And when I was doing one of my presentations, I remember her question, because she was doing her studying but putting her scope on texts, how students can be able to learn texts. So she asked me the same question: how will my topic, using songs in Spanish language from Latin America, help students to be able to learn and be able to construct different texts in Spanish? And I found it very interesting. I explained to her, and now I can explain again, that listening to music, listening to songs in Spanish language from Latin America helps students to acquire vocabulary, as I was explaining. So after this vocabulary helps the students to be able to construct sentences and texts with more facilidad, more easily for them. My other colleague who has returned to Spain, she was also very excited about using songs, because she was also using songs in her own class. Because, as I've already explained, the students that we teach are beginner students of Spanish language who just come at Makerere University, the only university in Uganda that is teaching Spanish. Some of them, they've never heard that Spanish even exists. So they are very worried. Like how we're talking about the affective filter. That psychological barrier is present for them. They don't know what is Spanish. They don't know what they are going to do with Spanish. And the first thing that you tell them about music, you ask the common songs like Bailando or Despacito, which are common globally. And then they tell you back that, yes, now they know Spanish. And they're like, oh, so that is Spanish? We didn't know that was Spanish. And also the Christmas song, Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año y Felicidad. When you tell them that, they'll be like, from since as a child I was singing that, I didn't know it was Spanish. So that was the reaction from the staff at Makerere University. At the University of Ghana, the first encounter I had with the head of department, who is also a lecturer for Spanish, she loved it. She was like, this is a good one. She has not heard anyone work on using songs in the education sector. So she was like, this must be a new approach, which is captivating. And then I met with the head of section Spanish language, who also found it very interesting, because using songs, especially in Spanish language from Latin America, helps students and it motivates them. And the example that was being given at the University of Ghana is how El Club Hispanico, or Hispanic Club, helps their students to actually reach the advanced level in little bit of time. Because every after classes, when they are on weekends, they meet for under the Casa Hispanica, under their designated space, under the club, and they are able to practice both singing, dancing, and even making obras teatra, making different plays and skits in Spanish language. And that's why the students were doing extremely well at the University of Ghana. Thank you.
Vale, muchas gracias. Sí, seguimos. Como he dicho, es una interacción. Sí, vamos a ver lo de la teoría, the theory that you used, Stephen Krashen. He has so many hypotheses. First of all, why did you decide to select the affective filter and not the other hypothesis? There's input, there are other ones, but why do you decide to select the affective filter? So that's one part of the question. En la segunda parte, how did it help you in your work? How did affective filter hypothesis help you in your work?
Thank you very much. From Stephen Krashen's different theories, why did I choose the affective filter? I chose the affective filter because it resonates with the challenges that are being faced with our students, specifically their unmotivated attitude, as well as high levels of anxiety and low engagement levels of the students. It easily resonates with this theory, whereby he was emphasizing that the affective filter, when it's elevated, all lecturers, all educators need to find means to lower this filter so that the students can be able to absorb comprehensible input. And then he further emphasizes that using songs is one of the methods that can help to bring down this affective filter or psychological barrier in order to facilitate for the students to be able to absorb the comprehensible inputs. How did it help in my investigation? It helps in resonating with the anxiety bit that we are working on. And also this theory resonates with the other two theories that were also guiding and orienting this study. The one of Howard's Eric, Howard's Kevin, and Cope in 1986, who expressed themselves about the classroom anxiety, which also affects the students at the University of Ghana as well as Makerere University. That's why. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay. Ahora, let's see, ¿puedes explicar este concepto de affective for the benefit of the people that are around? They will understand you are talking about affective filter and all that. Would you want to explain what it means when you're talking about affective filter? I thought that's one part that you're going to explain before you answer the question. What is affective filter?
Thank you so much, Doctor. Yes, affective filter. In other words, it's also called a psychological filter and also known as a psychological barrier. A psychological barrier which results when the negative emotions are present. That is to say, when the students face negative emotions like stress, like boredom, like lack of motivation. When these negative emotions are present for the students, even those who know a little bit of vocabulary, they are intimidated to pronounce. They can't even speak because they think that somebody needs to know it all to be able to speak. But in the context where Spanish language is a foreign language in both universities, it is impossible for the students who never learned Spanish in high school or lower levels of education to know how to speak immediately. That means that the lecturers or the educators must find ways and means which are creative to lower this guard, if I can call it a guard, or this psychological barrier, such that the students can be able to participate actively and be able to express themselves orally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a good explanation. Okay, ahora seguimos. ¿Cómo se puede garantizar? Esta pregunta es tiene como 4 aspectos. Lo voy a explicar. ¿Cómo se puede garantizar la validez intercultural de los resultados obtenidos en un estudio comparativo entre Ghana y Uganda? Así que lo voy a explicar. Estoy hablando de si los resultados pueden ser fiables, precisos y representativos. No, la primera cosa, si los resultados pueden ser fiables, representativos y precisos. 2, si podemos aplicar estos resultados a los dos contextos, si podemos usar estos resultados en ambas culturas, ¿no? Y finalmente, si podemos usar los hallazgos del estudio, los resultados del estudio en estos contextos específicos, ¿no? Se trata de una investigación que compara 2 países. Así que hay diferencias en la cultura, ¿no? Queremos saber si podemos decir que aún con las diferencias en la cultura se puede tener un estudio comparativa que tiene resultados fiables. ¿No? Ok. Ahora, puedes seguir.
Sí, muchas gracias por esta pregunta que tiene más preguntas por dentro colocado.
Sí,
Voy a intentar...
Tiene como 3 preguntas dentro, sí. Pero el objetivo es para saber exactamente si el estudio puede ser representativo. Ya, ¿no?
Sí,
vale.
Muchas gracias. Voy a intentar de hacer una justicia a esta pregunta. Muchas gracias, doctor. La respuesta tan sencilla es sí. Y ahora voy
explicando.
Sí, desde esta investigación los resultados son fiables. ¿Por qué? Porque la investigadora ha utilizado diferentes métodos de investigación en estas dos diferentes universidades, donde de estas dos diferentes universidades primero se tomó en cuenta sus diferencias en las culturas y también se hizo entrevistas intencionadas con los profesores, quienes son los que dirigen el aprendizaje y la enseñanza de la lengua española en las dos universidades. Y también a la hora de procesar o analizar los datos, se hizo el proceso de triangulación, así para asegurar que estos datos tengan la característica de fiabilidad y también de validez, y así para que sean datos precisos. Para comparar estos dos contextos de Ghana y también de Uganda en este caso y sus culturas. Primero debo mencionar por qué elegir a Ghana y no a otros países como África del Sur o Kenia, donde Nairobi se queda como vecino de Uganda. Fácilmente porque en la región de África Oriental, la Universidad de Makerere es pionera. Es la primera universidad para dar español antes de las dos universidades en Kenia. Entonces, aún en la Universidad de Makerere no tener el programa de español desarrollado a nivel avanzado, está aún mucho más desarrollado en comparación con las universidades vecinas desde el país de Kenia. ¿Y por qué también escoger al Ghana, específicamente a la Universidad de Ghana? Porque según la presentación y también según los datos que tuvimos durante el tiempo de recuento de los datos, estamos informados que el español se comenzó a ser dado en la Universidad de Ghana en 1964. En la Universidad de Makerere esto empezó en 2018 a nivel de licenciatura. Entonces, también esto fue gracias porque los dos países son dos países anglófonos. Y también tenemos mucho en cuanto a similitudes de cultura, de las danzas y de las comidas y de la manera como se enseñan. De tal modo que todo el mundo conocía a la investigadora como a alguien de Ghana. Y también contextos específicos. Si los resultados de la contribución de esta investigación sirve para dos contextos. Primero, porque es una nueva metodología o un nuevo enfoque de enseñar la lengua española usando canciones en español desde América Latina, específicamente el reggaetón, que aún no, esto era una laguna, un espacio, un nudo donde faltaba a alguien para hacer una investigación, tanto en las universidades africanas, pero específicamente para Sub-Sahara. Ninguna persona de los investigadores había hecho un estudio de investigación para poder hacer un estudio similar. Y esto pone como una investigación que sirve para ayudar las dos universidades en los dos países. Gracias.
Muy bien. Muchas gracias. Seguimos con otra pregunta. Esto es una pregunta, no son tres preguntas en una. Vale. A ver, sí, esto lo sabemos, pero yo quería preguntarte, a ver, ¿qué riesgos existen al utilizar canciones populares como recurso pedagógico en la enseñanza de lenguas extranjeras? ¿Y cómo se los aborda su estudio? ¿No? Estamos hablando de los riesgos, ¿no? En utilizar canciones populares, por ejemplo. Vivir mi vida es una canción muy popular y al usarlo en un estudio como tal, ¿qué riesgos esperamos?
Muchas gracias por esta canción, doctor. ¿Riesgos o cuáles son las a esta investigación o cuáles son los desafíos que la investigadora enfrentado en esta investigación y también cómo se ha podido resolver estas limitaciones, ¿vale?
Sí.
Y tenemos aquí un ejemplo de usar una canción de Vivir mi vida. Una de las limitaciones o desafíos es que en la hora de dar la canción a los estudiantes es importante que el profesor o la profesora pueda explicar primero a los estudiantes para que tengan la idea del objetivo por qué van a escuchar esas canciones en sus aulas. Y también los profesores necesitan las canciones. Esto puede ayudar a los profesores en la selección de estas canciones que van a usar en diferentes aulas según el contexto o el contenido que van a impartir en sus clases. Entonces, ¿cómo se pudo ver este desafío, este problema? En las recomendaciones, aquí la investigadora ha indicado claramente que es importante para que los profesores siempre puedan dar las letras de esas canciones a sus estudiantes, que esto va a resultar en los estudiantes de tener una profunda comprensión de qué significa o qué está incluido en estas canciones. Y también que es importante que estas canciones puedan estar incluidas en currículo o en planes de estudio. Y esto ayudaría a que los estudiantes puedan estar preparados aún antes de venir a estas clases. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Thank you very much. Okay, let's continue with we'll round up very soon. You've done very well so far with all the questions that you have answered. I have this question that I'm thinking about the decolonization. Entonces, ¿cómo contribuye su investigación al debate sobre la descolonización curricular en las universidades africanas? So I'm trying to find out how using songs and then particularly looking at Latin American Spanish songs, how would you say you are contributing to this idea of decolonization in a classroom, in African classrooms?
Thank you very much. This is a question that is very common and was expected. Thank you so much, Doctor, for the question. So this, to answer to the aspect of decolonization, we go back to the fourth objective of this study, whereby we're talking about the different cultural learnings that are facilitated when we use these songs which are in Spanish language from Latin America. And also taking note that the countries that were chosen for this scope of the study are Cuba, República Dominicana, and Puerto Rico, whereby we have, for these three countries, we have a lot in common with them as African countries when we talk of culture. Just like what we showcased in the video, we could see from the dance moves. Also, for those who understand Spanish, they could hear the type of foods that they eat in these countries, which is a lot similar. Rice. We eat rice all over. And also, because using songs from Latin America in Spanish language helps our students to get intercultural learnings, whereby some of the themes in the songs are actually talking about the same topics that are faced in the African continent or in the African countries, in this case of Ghana and Uganda. Topics or themes that are related with migration, that are related with poverty, that are related with dictatorship. So these are songs, by students listening to these songs, they are able to actually compare the cultural differences and similarities between the two countries. And this helps with the decolonization. It also, using these songs that talk about resilience, for example, El Pueblo Unido Nunca Será Vencido, the students at Ghana or the students at Makerere University, they are able to learn that these are the countries which have lived the same way that we are living or we have also lived, and from there they are able to relate and get the global citizenship. In other words, it gives them an open mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, as the moderator said, we're not going to use all the 40. We've done so far, I think we have done about 25, 26 minutes by my watch, what I'm watching here, by 25, 26 minutes. So let's have the last two questions and then I will hand you over to the rest of the
Thank you.
panel for. Yes, so I have this other simple question here. I've talked about the filtro affectivo already. Okay, so I will not ask that one again. So now the obvious question that somebody will ask you is what criteria did you use to select the songs? ¿Qué criterios utilizaste para seleccionar las canciones? You know, because there are lots of songs there. So what criteria did you use in selecting the songs? And then what criteria did you use in selecting the teachers and the students for your interviews? So two questions. All talking about criteria.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, I'll start from down going up. Thank you so much, Doctor. About the selection of the sample, as expressed, it was purposively selected. It was intentioned to make sure that we can be able to respond to the objectives of this study. The students and the lecturers that participated in the focus group discussions, in the interviews, and in the classes that were observed, we had to choose them, or the researcher had to select them intentionally to be able to get an in-depth explanation of the different experiences. Also, why using reggaeton, or why select these specific songs? This was because of the catchy lyrics of these songs, to be able to respond to the problem of being bored on the part of the students, to help with the problem of lack of motivation as well. So selection of the songs was based on their rhythmic beat as well as the catchy lyrics in these songs. I thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's have the last question that I have here. Which is something that what are some of the things that you say as your final contribution to this research? What is the impact? What impact is your research going to have going forward? So, ¿qué aportaciones concretos hace su investigación la enseñanza del español in Africa? What are some of the things that you say is your contribution to the teaching and learning of Spanish in Ghana and in Uganda, University of Ghana and University of Makerere, for example?
Sí. Thank you, muchas gracias. A las contribuciones, como ya he mostrado en la presentación, primero es una metodología de enseñanza de la lengua española de forma cautivante y creativa, que aún no existía en las universidades africanas, específicamente en la Universidad de Ghana y la Universidad de Makerere. Así que este estudio está contribuyendo una nueva manera o un nuevo enfoque de dar clases de la lengua española en las dos universidades. Y también este estudio da una comparación de los diferentes enfoques utilizados en dar clases o impartir la lengua española en las universidades de Ghana y también de Makerere. Gracias.
Gracias. Y para terminar, so would just want to say that you have answered the questions to the best of your ability, and I would say that it's been very good session. And then I would just want to elicit the last things from you. The last question is, what would you recommend again as songs or genre? What genre of songs would you want to recommend in future studies aside the that you have mentioned? What I saw you in the presentation, I saw that you mentioned it in the presentation, but if you want to recap some of the songs that you want to suggest for future investigators, future how do you call it? Research.
Thank you very much. As Doctor, as you have re-echoed, yes, I've explained this in the presentation, but still we can explain in depth. Apart from reggaeton songs in Spanish language from Latin America, what other songs would I recommend for further studies? I would recommend, for example, bachata songs. Why? Because also their lyrics are clear for the students to be able to identify and learn vocabulary and improve on all those different communication skills for the language. Also, I find it very interesting if in future we can do, or somebody could do, further investigation on using songs specifically from the Kingdom of Spain in teaching Spanish language in African universities. And also maybe other genres could be pop or hip hop, depending on what also this researcher would be interested in as a person, because I believe that somebody needs to be motivated to be able to work on any investigation or research. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for answering the questions. I'll hand it over to the smart room and to the chair. Mr. Chair, please take it over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Novieto. Thank you very much for this very elaborate and informative engagement with the candidate. I think, Abius, you can sit again for a few more minutes. And catch your breath. You're doing very well. Okay? And making us proud. We are now moving to another session, which is the engagement of the candidate by the panelists. Although the engagement by the panelists will not be as long as that of the opponent. As I said earlier, I would request the panelists to focus on the other more important things that maybe the opponent has not already raised or the candidate hasn't responded to. And we are going to start by inviting the panelist who is online. I hope is available online. That is Professor Lilia Munoz, if I pronounced the name correctly. If Professor is online, Professor Munoz, if you are online, sir, we'll give you about 15 minutes to engage the candidate in asking her topical issues based on what you've read or made of a thesis. So over to you, Professor, if you are able to hear me.
Chair,
yes.
Can I kindly shortly summarize for her in Spanish? She doesn't understand in English at all.
What I've said?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead. It's fine. Farouk?
Hola, Prof. Lilia. Espero que nos pueda escuchar. Aquí el presidente nos da palabra, está informando que ahora toca parte de usted para tener 10 a 15 minutos de hacerme preguntas relacionadas con esta investigación, y así que usted puede tomar palabra cuando se pueda. Aquí van a conectar con un micrófono para ver que puedan escucharle a usted. Puede tomar palabra usted para hacer sus preguntas. Si quiere, puede hacer todas las preguntas para yo responder luego. Gracias.
Prof? Is she hearing you, or you take the phone to Abius? Can she hear you from there?
Hola, Prof. ¿Usted me escucha bien? Ok, perfecta. Usted me escuchó que aquel jefe está pidiendo a usted tomar como 10 a 15 minutos para hacer sus preguntas. Así que entre los 10 a 15 minutos, supuestamente usted está preguntando y yo respondiendo. ¿Está bien?
Muy bien, muy bien. Bueno, buenas tardes para todos los compañeros. ¿Me escuchan?
Sí, se escucha bastante bien, muchas gracias.
Bien. En primer lugar, es una satisfacción de esta profesora poder hoy escuchar este ejercicio de nuestra querida aspirante. Yo realmente me siento muy complacida porque veo que las recomendaciones, los comentarios, las sugerencias que yo hice en su trabajo, pues ella las enmendó totalmente y pudo presentar hoy un informe mucho más acabado y con mayor calidad. Además, deseo destacar que es un orgullo para mí haber escuchado hoy la exposición de nuestra querida Abius, que la recibimos en nuestra Universidad de Camagüey y comenzamos a dar los primeros pasos para que ella aprendiera el idioma español. Hoy verla convertida en una profesional, en una investigadora, en una profesora con marcada excelencia, realmente nos llena de satisfacción y orgullo. Pienso que el tema que ella escogió es un tema novedoso y que ayuda mucho a la motivación de los estudiantes a la hora de aprender el idioma español, porque no solo es lo formal desde el punto de vista gramatical, semántico, morfológico, sino que las canciones posibilitan que el estudiante pues se sienta motivado, pero además al querer tararear y pronunciar las canciones pues puede ir adquiriendo habilidades de expresión oral tan necesarias cuando se estudia una lengua extranjera. Realmente considero de gran valía el tema abordado en esta investigación. No tengo preguntas, yo las sugerencias las hice cuando revisé su trabajo y realmente hoy ha sido una jornada de satisfacción. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, querida Prof. Muchísimas gracias. No, she said she doesn't have questions, she has comments. Should we interpret her speech? The chair, in absentia, would like to translate or interpret orally what the external examiner from the Republic of Cuba had to say. She gave a profound speech about how the candidate of today, Tushemerirwe Abius, was welcomed in the University of Camagüey in Cuba, and how it was her joy to have impacted classes. Also, it is such pride for the University of Camagüey to be able to produce a student who has been able to work on such an innovative research topic. Her comments, she further expressed how the use of songs in Spanish language have helped or do help students in improving the motivation, the pronunciation, and thus the oral expressions. She concluded by saying she doesn't have any questions for the candidates. She simply had to give these comments in congratulating the candidate, that she's very proud. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I think that was very quick from our first panelist. Now over to the other panelist in the room. We'll start with Dr. Benon Chigozi. Benon, I'm told you need to come here so that people can see you. So I'm sorry for disturbing my senior colleague, but please come and take on the mic from your deputy principal.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you, Abius, for this research. I've enjoyed it, and I enjoyed reading the book, but I've got a few things that I've noted that I'd like you to clarify on. One of them is about the comparative case study and the rationale. My question is that what theoretical or contextual rationale justified comparing the two universities, Makerere University and the University of Ghana, in terms of how Spanish songs are used, given their different cultural and institutional context? And how did you ensure the differences in song-based learning, that those were meaningful rather than just incidental? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Would you like me to read all of them? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
My second question is about sampling participants that you used. How did you account for other influences such as the lecturers' musical competencies, students' prior musical experiences, or their exposure, or institutional resources at the different places where you are, that could have affected the outcomes beside just the use of songs in Spanish?
Thank you, Doctor. Number 3.
Question number 3 is about the inclusion of non-song users. Were there any students or lecturers who did not use songs in music or songs in Spanish in their classes? And if so, how did their perspectives inform your understanding of the limitations of music in language learning? My next question is about document review. I realize that data was collected between June and October 2024. And as a researcher, do you consider this period sufficient to capture authentic effects of using songs or even any other music on Spanish language for learning over that time? And how did you determine the relevance and credibility of institutional documents that you used, like scores, sheet music in Spanish pedagogy, especially if these were informal or sometimes not even published? And my last question. Yes, I realize that you use tables and graphs to represent the data on song-based learning. And I'm wondering how you justify quantifying qualitative experiences without oversimplifying the complexity of music pedagogy. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Doctor. First we respond to the first question. about why the comparative study between the University of Ghana and Makerere University, taking into account the differences in their geographical location and what sense it made in the theories that oriented this study. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I had responded to the opponent, but I think I had posed the question in Spanish, but this is exactly the same question. Interesting one. So why University of Ghana? Because the University of Ghana is an Anglophone speaking country. Ghana is an Anglophone speaking country just like Uganda, and there is close similarity in our cultures. Also, University of Ghana is one of the universities on the African continent where Spanish program has existed for very many years, whereby Spanish as a language was introduced in the country of Ghana in 1948. And then it also expanded thanks to the diplomatic ties or the improved diplomatic relationship between Ghana and Spain in 1967. In the University of Ghana specifically, Spanish as a language started being taught in the year 1964. So this makes the University of Ghana one of the unique universities on the continent of Africa where Spanish has existed for a long time, also where it's being taught at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. Taking into account that at Makerere University, Spanish was introduced in 2006 as a short course, but then it started being taught at bachelor's level in 2018, which is recent. Even 2018 being recent for Makerere University, it is still a pioneer university in the region of East Africa. So the comparative study was done responding or aligning with the first objective of this study, which is the conventional approaches used in Spanish language learning at Makerere University and the University of Ghana. The researcher had to go and investigate what are these conventional approaches that the University of Ghana has been using to be able to see that this program of Spanish language moves from the bachelor's level to the postgraduate levels. So in a way, it was a benchmarking visit from a pioneer university on the African continent.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then to respond to the next question, from what I have noted, the sampling of participants. If the researcher took into account necessarily the musical skills that the lecturers could have. And from the recommendations in today's presentation, the researcher had to inform that it is key. After this investigation, she finds it key that the sections of Spanish language at both universities need to get a cooperation with the sections of music in order to be able to improve on this new methodology or pedagogy of teaching a foreign language using songs or music for future investigations. So this means that during the purposive sampling, the skills of whether lecturers knew about music or songs was not really what was the driving factor, but rather the investigator or the researcher had to make intentioned interviews and inquiries to know if they are not using songs, what other approaches could they be using? And that was achieved by the end of the study. Also, if the researcher had to first find out which resources are used at both universities, that also was not key, because what was key is aligning with the study objectives. So to respond to the conventional approaches, the researcher had to visit to benchmark at the University of Ghana and see what resources are actually available, and it was on a positive note that the University of Ghana actually is putting into practice using songs in Spanish language for the students to learn, and not necessarily on the part of the lecturers. Those most of the lecturers affirmed that yes, they use songs, common songs, like you've heard from the opponent, who is also one of the lecturers. They use songs in their classes, but the most interesting part, according to the researcher, is how much the students who are learning Spanish language are able to learn on their own using songs in Spanish language, especially after classes and on weekends when they are working together as a team in their Hispanic club, which is at the university with designated space. And furthermore, to motivate these students, they actually give them a free week of no studying, and the students are showcasing, if I can just say, MDD in Spanish. They are putting dances, they are putting songs, they are doing different activities and different kits in Spanish language. And that in itself has motivated Spanish in this university to a level that even the beginners, when you come first semester, by end of second semester, you are somewhere in Spanish, thanks to the collaboration and teamwork between year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4 students. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
To respond to the next question about inclusion, if all lecturers were using songs in their classroom, during the focus group discussion with one of the lecturers who teaches year 3 and year 4 classes at the University of Ghana, he teaches literature from Spanish-speaking countries to the students. At the start, he informed, I quote, "I don't really use songs in my classes because I teach literature, but what I do to motivate my students is to do kits in Spanish language." And after, he adds that when I'm doing these kits, which are more or less like the telenovelas we see on the TV, at the start and at the end, the students have to use songs. So I'm like, yes, that means you actually use songs. And the next question about the document review, to be able to extract the historical context. If the months of June to October 2024 was enough, the answer, which would be simple, is yes, that during these months, because when the researcher went to do data collection, specifically at the University of Ghana, the researcher had no notions of what conventional approaches they actually use. But after arriving and realizing that the approaches used in both universities are quite similar, and specifically for the objective of this study, using songs in Spanish language from Latin America is implemented in both universities, the time for doing data collection was adequate, and it was enough for the researcher to be able to get the responses to the objectives that were set for this study.
Right. The reason I asked that question is because when we teach a song, there's so many other elements that we put into practice even before we talk about a foreign language that we want to teach through the song. The issues to do with harmonies, the issues to do with the melodies, issues to do with the rhythms, so many things. And when you look at the duration of June to October, and you need to do all of those and still learn a language. So somebody wonders what and how we did that, and we would like to know whether that's something that we should benchmark in the future and go forward with that.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for this interesting question. Yes, on the part of being technical on the songs or music, maybe for the future prospects of official research, we can explore more into different harmonies of the selected songs and things like that. But for this research, it was simply finding out how songs are used in the classroom and not taking into account the depth technical part of each one of the songs that were selected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, there is another question, forgive me, about the tables and the graphs. Differentiating, practically what I'd understood, Doctor, is differentiating qualitative analysis, qualitative methods and quantitative methods, whereby in this investigation, which is a qualitative research, including tables and graphs. Would that be the question?
Let me read it again.
Yes, please, thank you.
I'm wondering how you justify quantifying qualitative experiences without oversimplifying the complexity of music in teaching it, in pedagogy.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I hope I have understood better now. This study is a qualitative research and not a quantitative research. This means that though we use the tables and the graphs to represent the transcribed information, it was not based on the numerical values, but rather on the in-depth explanations that are descriptive to the different aspects that are showcased on these tables and graphs. It's less about the quantity, the quantifying or the numbers being numerical, but it's a non-numerical methodology that is used. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Nanfuka.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abius. I congratulate you on this far that you have got.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for giving us an interesting topic to look at. I'll confess today that I tried to use this method to teach several years ago, but a colleague came to my class and said, a colleague whom I won't mention from religious studies came to my class and said, if you want to sing, go down to MDD. And that was the end. I didn't do this again, but it's something that I loved, something that having taught in secondary school, it's something that I used to do in secondary school. So thank you very, very much, Abi, that you are bringing this up as a study, a PhD study moreover. I have questions, but I also have, some of these are questions, some of them are comments. I think I'll start with the questions. When you answer them, then I'll give the comments so that I don't confuse you with a long list of things.
Perfect, thank you.
I'll start with the questions. It's interesting, Abi, that you used 3 different theories. The opponent talked about one. You used 3 different theories for the different objectives. I would like to know whether you found any limitations using those theories. Did you find any limitations to the theories or challenges that these theories that you had chosen, a theory you had chosen could not handle what you had chosen it for? Let me just go through all the questions so that you can answer once. The second question, I think the opponent talked about methodology. He talked about methodology. I'll also talk about methodology from, hopefully, from a different angle. That you did interviews, you did focus group discussions, you did desk documentation review, and you also did classroom observations. Question 1 under methodology is whether you needed all these methods, whether the interviews were not enough to cover what you wanted to do with focus group discussions, or whether the focused group, whichever way, yeah, whether each method could cover things that you were not able to cover by using the other method. Talking about the interviews, I felt like maybe there was saturation at some point. You talked about interviewing 75 students from the University of Ghana and 25 from Makerere. Those are 100. Those are 100. Did you need 100? That is a question there. And did you need to interview the heads of departments as well? Whether it was necessary. Maybe the lecturers, but heads of departments, I'm not sure whether you needed them in your study, since they have administrative roles rather than teaching roles. The third question is on recommendations. I noted that you have a lot of recommendations, and I'm not so sure that these recommendations came from your conclusions and also up from your objectives. You have lots of recommendations, and I had kind of a fear that you were introducing new knowledge or new information at the stage of recommendations. And the last one, about the songs. Thank you very much for the songs. You have quite a number of songs. I've counted the pages, 19 pages of songs. Are these songs categorized? I just saw one list after another of songs. I don't know whether it's my suggestion or my thinking, but maybe let me bring it as a question. Are they categorized so that then we know that these ones are teaching, for example, how nursery school teachers teach? Are these teaching mathematics? Are these teaching grammar? Are these teaching different components? Are they categorized? And if so, could you present them therefore as categories so that then those of us who are in German, French, other foreign languages, we can borrow from these categories and say, oh, okay, so if I'm teaching this concept, I can use a song. Then we can look up those songs online in our foreign languages so that we can be able to teach them in those categories. I think it would also be nice to probably translate. You may not be able to translate all the songs, but probably to translate the songs so that we can get a feel of what the songs are about, so that we can be able, as a department, to enjoy your book. Otherwise, we are going to miss out on this beautiful knowledge. Because we don't want to go out and do the math, understanding what are these, go out and look for what do they mean. We don't want to go and look for what they mean. Maybe at least a summary of what the song means, the different songs, so that we may be able, as a department, to enjoy the book and to be able to use it in our subjects as well. Now I'll go to the, no. You want to respond before I make comments?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The first question was about the 3 theories that are used if the researcher faced any limitations using the 3 theories. So the 3 theories in this study are the class anxieties by Howard's Eric, Howard's Kevin, and Kopp from 1986. Class anxieties. Anxieties, they are present, you can hear the word. And then we have the main theory of the study, which is the affective filter. And it results from students being faced with anxiety. Again, anxiety. And the third one is learning by doing, or experiential learning. So from the 3 theories, the researcher found out that all of them resonate, and they are trying to find ways to reduce anxiety so that students can be able to learn when they are motivated. The answer, which is simple, is no, there were no limitations in using these 3 theories, because the 3 theories were helpful to be able to respond to the set objectives of this study. And then the next question was about the 3 methods used in data collection, which are focus group discussions, interviews, and class observations. The question is whether using interviews wouldn't have been enough instead of including focus group discussions and observations. The answer is no. Using only interviews would not have given an in-depth understanding of the perspectives from both the lecturers and the students on using songs in Spanish language from Latin America in learning Spanish language. Also, focus group discussions were key for the researcher to be able to understand and hear specifically from the students, how do they feel when they are using these songs? What is it that would lack if they didn't use the songs? In other words, it was providing a means to get a more in-depth experience and be able to collect enough data to respond to the set objectives of the study. Observing the classes. This was specifically in response with the first objective of this study, which is the conventional approaches used in learning Spanish language at Makerere University and the University of Ghana. So classes had to be observed in order to be able to get the critical evidence of what approaches are being used in these universities under the section of Spanish language. The next one is why interview 100 students in total. Why 75 students from the University of Ghana? It sounds like a big number, but no, it is not a big number. Given that the number of students who are doing Spanish language at the University of Ghana is usually from the wards of the administrator or the head of department, as we had echoed about interviewing the head of department, that was done, the head of departments, that was done, and she echoed that most of the times they even get numbers which are in 400 and 500 of students who are learning Spanish language at this university. Maybe there is something that the university knows that Makerere needs to know. But interviewing 75 students out of such a big number was not a big number for the sample. It was purposely selected to be able to align with the set objectives for this study. And also, the interviews with the heads of departments contributed insights on the history of the program of Spanish language at both universities. For the part of recommendations, it was given for 3 different sections: for the teaching part, for infrastructure, and for the policies. From the researchers part, they are relevant. For teaching, for example, we recommend that songs in Spanish language from Latin America should be integrated in the study plans or in the curriculum. And also, infrastructure-wise, that Makerere needs to designate space for the Spanish learning section, because during the data collection at Makerere University, there is no space that is designated for this section. And that's why challenges like what you already faced, of you can't play music here, you have to go by music section, still persist. But the key component from this study is that at the University of Ghana, the students have advanced in Spanish language because they have a designated space which allows them to learn even on their own and in their free time in a fun and motivating way. For policies, we recommended that for both universities, there is need to train lecturers in this pedagogical methodology of using songs in Spanish language from Latin America. So the researcher finds all these 3 sectors very relevant to the study as recommendations. About the songs being categorized, the researcher believes that this is an interesting question, and thank you so much, but it could help for future studies, whereby the next researcher or the same researcher at postdoctoral level can explore the song selection or categorizing, or what Dr. the other opponent, what he had suggested about finding the technical bit of these songs that are being used. So also this is proposed for future research. About translating the songs that were used, thank you so much. This is also another interesting question. Working all the songs where they were included, in the sections where they are included, there is translation to it so that the reader can be able to understand what the songs actually mean. There is a brief to it. But also, the researcher will do a consultation with the supervisors so that she can be able to see how best to respond to this point. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Abby. Now I'll make comments. I noted that, thank you very much for your responses. I thank you very much also for the confidence with which you have handled your defense, Abby. It's very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll now make some comments. I noted that in your presentation, I think after you had submitted the book, you continued working like any other serious student would. Thank you very much. I noted that in your presentation, you have given us contributions. These contributions are missing in the book. Kindly add the contributions of the study to the document because they are missing. You also need to number. There are several sections that are not numbered. I think you need to sit with a professional. There are some professionals down in Wandegea or in UH, on this university, with whom you can sit and do a nice presentation of the book, because some things are missing, some sections are not numbered, and yet they are supposed to be numbered. I think all sections are supposed to be numbered. So those people have the experience, they will tell you what to number. They are not doing the work for you, the content, they are just numbering and making the presentation of your book. It will make the quality of your book better if you give it to, but sit with the professional to do the editing, professional editing of the book. Conclusions, for example, since your conclusions are supposed to be coming from, it's not clear to me, probably because of the language, but actually even in the summary, in the executive summary, which you very ably did, which I read, it's not clear which conclusion is coming from which objective. Therefore, it's not clear. I'll still talk about the recommendations. It's not clear which recommendations come from which conclusions. So if that flow is very nicely done, it would beef up your presentation of your work. So that then we know that she had this objective and this is the conclusion from it and this is how she's recommending. And it's clearly labeled and numbered. Otherwise, you look like you are bringing new recommendations, new information into content that was not part of what you went out to study. So this is something that you need to work on. I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much, Abby. Other comments you'll find in other spaces. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much, Dr. Margaret Nanfuka. Margaret actually read the book, so she's speaking from a very informed point of view. Yeah. So I think at this point, Dr. Sebuyungo, do you want to go first before I open it up to the general audience? Okay. Okay, please. You can come and make your observation from here as well. Okay, it is just one question, but still you have to speak on the mic. Yeah. For the others, they'll speak from where they are, but for you, please speak from here, because you are also the head of the department.
Thank you very much, Abius, for this very fascinating study. I have one question. How are the conclusions of your study different from those of previous research on the use of Spanish songs in learning Spanish language? Thank you.
Thank you very much, our head of department. So the question is conclusions of this study, how they differ from the other related research. I would like to first inform that I was expecting a question, maybe it's coming, about the related research. I have consulted a lot of literature, and most of the researchers that have worked on this are actually from Spain and Latin America. So in a context, it is different for the African context, which makes it really new. And this responding to the kind of conclusions that they have, they are different because the work that they've done, for example, from Spain, from Grenada, from Madrid, and also from Colombia, they were talking about using music in teaching Spanish language, and our study today is about using songs in Spanish language, and the songs being specifically from Latin America. So this already differs from the topic that the other scholars in the related field have worked on, thus setting apart the conclusions that have been taken in this study. Conclusions like how the use of songs in Spanish language from Latin America are motivating, and they hope to reduce the anxiety of the students in the classroom.
Okay, thank you, Abius. I think at this point, I'm now going to open up the presentation to the public. We call this a public defense. So the public are also expected to ask questions or to raise comments other than the expert panelist. So I think how we are going to proceed, we are going to start with those online. If you have an observation, but I'm going to request that you keep your question to not more than 2 minutes, because we have only about 15 minutes for everybody from the public side. So if you want to ask a question, please keep it very brief and precise. And we are starting with the online audience as people within the smart room here prepare themselves. So if you want to raise your hand, you can raise your hand. I'll see you, and I'll allow you to, then you can unmute and then talk. So over to you, our colleagues online. You can ask the candidate any question. Dr. Garcia, do you want to start? Do you want to raise a question?
Profesora, si por favor quisieras hablar, por favor tome palabra haciendo el unmute para usted compartir sus ideas o comentarios. Gracias. Hay que hacer el clic por unmute, así se puede escuchar, porque ahora no se puede escuchar, profesora. Gracias.
Are you able to unmute them? Yeah. Please try to unmute. Can you do it from there? Try if you can. Oh, okay. Try if you can unmute her. Garcia.
Prof, por favor, ahora usted puede hacer un clic donde hay esta como altavoz para que aquí se pueda escuchar sus comentarios. Hacer unmute, porfa. Ahora sí, ahora sí.
Ahora sí es posible. ¿Me escuchan?
Sí, gracias.
Gracias a todos los presentes. I need to speak Spanish, please.
Sin problema.
Bien, muchas gracias. La tesis de Abius es en función de que las canciones de habla hispana ayuden al aprendizaje del español. Y por eso quiero, pues hablar en español también. Agradezco la oportunidad, el momento, el espacio, y quiero transmitirle a todos en este sentido, pues, mi agradecimiento profundo. La situación de conectividad quizás no es la más idónea, pero creo que nos están escuchando desde hace aproximadamente 2 horas y media, o 2 horas y algo. Primero que todo, pues después de los agradecimientos, decir solamente que esta contribución de Abius la considero una contribución oportuna, científica y académica, importante para toda la comunidad, no solo de habla inglesa, sino también de habla hispana, con una importante contribución a la teoría y a la práctica del conocimiento de las lenguas. Muchas gracias por la oportunidad. Felicidades, Abius. Congratulations.
Muchísimas gracias, doctora Garcia. Estamos aquí en Uganda escuchándote muy bien y estamos muy orgullosas de ti también por el apoyo que has dado a nuestra candidata. Y voy a hacer un resumen de lo que has dicho. For all the people that are in this room this afternoon, I'm going to make a translation of what Dr. Garcia has just mentioned. She would like to congratulate the candidate for the journey that she has made up to today. And she says she has put in very good work in it. And she also says she wants to give thanks to all the people that have contributed to this work up to this stage. And she would also like she would like to thank the candidate for the contribution not only to theory, but also to practice, and that this contribution is for both languages, for both English and for Spanish. And she is saying that as much as it is also theoretical, it's going to be of very good use in the practice from henceforth. So she wants to say thank you and congratulations to the candidate.
Profesor de Garcias, muchas gracias. Aquí Edith Natukunda, que firma el protocolo de colaboración con vuestra universidad. Muchas gracias a la Universidad de Camagüey. Muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Natukunda, for that. Any other person online who would like to make a comment or raise a question? Even back here, among the Ugandan public, if you want to raise a question. Okay, so maybe as people online prepare themselves, we can also handle those that are here in the audience. You introduce yourself and then you make your observation. Not more than 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm Agatha Tumwine, a lecturer of French in the Department of European and Oriental Languages. Congratulations, Abius, for this beautiful and colorful presentation of this PhD defense. However, I have two simple questions, precise questions. One, talking from the practitioner's point of view as a teacher, a lecturer of another foreign language, French. Looking at the sample of the questions of the songs you gave us at the end of your presentation, I was trying to think through from as someone teaching, because this is for learning a foreign language, what skills were you targeting? What linguistic skills were you targeting? That's one. Can such songs teach? Then two, I was just wondering, just like the critical reader observed, if you used songs, let's say from a different country, different context, like Equatorial Guinea, do you think you would get different results? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. ATM, Agatha Tumwine Magezi, for the interesting questions. The first one about the song La Gozadera by Gente de Zona from 2015. When it's used in a classroom, what is it that the students are able to learn? So this song, which was also noted to be used even at the University of Ghana by the lecturers of Spanish language, helps the students to be able to relate and get cultural learnings from the song. Because for somebody who was paying attention, you could hear, first of all, they were mentioning the different Spanish-speaking countries around the globe. Also, their flags were being put out. And those who could understand slightly, you could hear different foods being mentioned, the foods that they eat in these different Hispanic countries. So this song helps for the students to be able to extract vocabulary, and also to learn how different grammatic rules are being respected, even by using only this song of La Gozadera. The second part was about what if the scope was different, what if the scope had been different and it was from the only Spanish-speaking country on the African continent, if it would give the same results. I said that this could be for future research to be able to find out what are the common songs or what are the songs in Spanish language that are commonly used in Equatorial Guinea or Guinea Equatorial, and how could these songs contribute to different learnings of Spanish language to the students. Thank you. So this would be for future research. I thank you.
Have you seen that question? That's the one online.
I'm reading. My question would be whether using songs to learn can be extrapolated to learning in other fields. Thank you so much, Rachel Mujawimana, Raquel, and for the congrats message, muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. For the purposes of this study dealt with using songs in Spanish language from Latin America, specifically from the countries of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and República Dominicana in the learning of Spanish language at the Universities of Makerere and Ghana. So I'm afraid right now I cannot give a yes or no answer to this question of whether songs can be used to other fields. That would also be for future research. Thank you.
Is there another person online? Maybe those who are online, you can raise your hand. Mr. Technician, I hope they can raise their hand. They can, eh? Yeah, if you can raise your hand, if you're online, you have to raise your hand, then we shall unmute you from here. But you have to first show that you want to ask a question. In the meantime, we can go to her. Okay. You can introduce yourself, then you can ask the question.
Okay.
You can ask from here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Grace Akulo. I am a doctor, and I'd like to congratulate my long-term colleague, Abby. Congratulations, felicidades por llegar a este momento. Nos das muchísimas emociones a verte aquí. This journey has been very long, and por fin hemos llegado aquí. Y bueno, voy a hablar tanto en español como en inglés para que ambas puntos de público pueden entender lo que estamos hablando. I'm going to speak both English and Spanish so that all of us can be on the same page. Well, I've been a product of the Makerere University Makerere University yes, okay. College, and since 2008, when I got a scholarship to go to Salamanca University to do, I think I was one of the very first ones that were sent to Salamanca University to do the exchange program, and it was very interesting. So this journey has not really been a very short one, it's been a long one, and I'm very proud of Makerere University for coming to this stage in life where we can have programs that are done not only at bachelor's level, but also at doctoral level, like Abius's example. Estoy aquí para felicitar la Universidad de Makerere por haber llegado a este momento de poder poner o disponer cursos tanto de grado como de posgrado en español. Y soy uno de los testimonios de este viaje, y ha sido largo, pero al fin estamos aquí. I would like to thank all the doctors and all the members of staff and department that have supported our colleague here, Abby, on coming to this moment. Professor Togboa, thank you so much. You have been an inspiration to us all through these years from the time we met. And for also Abby, you have been so inspirational, and we are here because of you. I am here because of you. Abius is here because of you. I remember the very first moments. So I'm here to say that the contribution that Abby is making to this community, to the languages community as a whole, and to Sub-Saharan Africa also, is because of we would not be here. We would not be here. I'm sure you directed her in the very right direction and have been able to give her the support that she needed to be able to make this contribution. It's a very timely one, and like Dr. Garcia said, both to theory and to practice. So this contribution allows us to know that we not only can be affectionate in our teaching with a transition in with the digital transition and transformation, we're able to know that lecturers and professors and also any other facilitators of languages are no longer the pioneers. Nowadays, it's the students that do their education, and we are here to support them. So as this methodology that Abius is proposing through the affectionate lens is a very good one because it's able to arrive at the very needs of the student. The student is auto or self-guiding, and they're able to learn all the tonations, they're able to learn how to connect with the world in which they are learning. So this emotional intelligence approach, I think, is very necessary today, and I congratulate the entire team that has been on this journey for giving us this lens. Doy gracias al equipo que ha ayudado a Abius a seleccionar este tema porque es muy útil hoy en día con la transformación digital, tanto la transformación emocional, hoy en día para poder poner en práctica nuestras enseñanzas en el mundo pedagógico. Y ahora voy a reconocer que esta lente nos ayuda como profesores a ayudar a los alumnados a aprender en una manera que es autoguiado y también muy práctico para ellos porque ellos usan sus emociones, ellos usan también sus maneras de disfrutar para aprender. Y esta es una lente muy y bastante importante hoy en día con este tipo de transformaciones. Having been one of the testimonies, I would like also to recognize the fact that in sub-Saharan Africa, this is very necessary, and we are going to see how we can work together and promote whatever Abius has started as, the teachers or educators in Spanish, and being one of the institutions, the educational institutions that are leading in Spanish in sub-Saharan Africa, we shall use this model to see that the rest of the sub-Saharan part of Africa gets to use this method and be able to capture and captivate learners' attention and engagement and learning with everything that they can. So Abius, thank you so much for this model. It's very relevant for us who are teaching Spanish, and we are going to use it and be with you on this journey as it begins. It's not just the beginning, but it is, of course, I'm sure that you have used it and you have seen some of the results. We shall be here to see how this expands to the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. He dicho que estaremos trabajando junto a la profesora Abius para ver que este modelo que ha sugerido que sea usado para desarrollar el aprendimiento de los estudiantes hispanoafricanos, para ver que ellos usan sus emociones, usan su manera práctica para aprender. Como es un modelo nuevo, vamos a usarlo a ver cómo vamos avanzando nuestro continente y nuestro equipo de alumnado. Muchísimas gracias por asistir a esta defensa. A todos los que están online, que no han podido venir aquí a verla en persona, os aseguro que ella ha hecho una presentación bastante buenísima. Y se ve que es muy contenta con lo que ha hecho y estamos muy orgullosas de ella. Así que muchísimas gracias por asistir. Thank you so much everyone for coming. We are very proud of Abius and very happy to be one of her colleagues. Thank you so much and good afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other, do you have anybody online? Okay, maybe one final one from the audience here, if anybody want to raise a question. Okay, so I take it that all the questions have been raised and all comments have been made. I'm now going to request members of the panel to retreat with us to our retreat place, which you know. And I think we shall be back here in how many minutes? 15 or 20? 15. Yeah, in about 15 minutes only. So for those who are online, you can just give us 15 minutes. We shall be back after consulting among ourselves on the outcome of this defense. Thank you. See you in about 15 minutes time. Oh, hello. Is it back now? Okay. Hello. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Candidate, I think you can sit. There's no need for you to stand. Abius, please take your seat. The defense has ended.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So how are we going to do it?
A summary.
Okay, yeah, please. Okay, no, you can just be, you can be doing it because we want to make it quick. Yeah, so the panel is back after deliberating on the defense.
Los panelistas han vuelto de hacer la conclusión de esta sesión.
Yeah, and the panel has taken into consideration the observations of the panelists who are online, who are not here with us, and the others who are here in the
Los
audience.
panelistas presentes han hecho la consideración de aquellos que están online también, así que es algo muy completo, no es solo los que están aquí.
Yeah, and generally, we've agreed that the candidate has done a good piece of work, and we are impressed with her work, and she has passed.
En general, todos los panelistas, tanto online como los que están presentes, han acentuado que la candidata ha hecho un buen trabajo y le damos a nuestros enhorabuenas y felicidades por llegar a este momento muy clave.
Yeah, we've all agreed that the work has significant potential for making contribution to the promotion of the Spanish language in Uganda.
Todos los panelistas han acentuado que este gran trabajo está contribuyendo bastante a tanto la práctica y la teoría en nuestra educación, en nuestro trabajo pedagógico en África subsahariana y Uganda también.
Okay, but this is not all yet. The candidate still has a few more laps to cover in our marathon to complete this journey.
Es un comienzo de este gran trabajo, así que sabemos que la candidata tiene aún un viaje por cubrir, pero estamos orgullosas por lo que ha hecho hasta este momento.
Yeah, so the panel has observed that she has passed, but with some minor revisions to be made.
Así que los panelistas observan que ella ha superado con buenas notas, aunque son bastante pequeñas las revisiones que ella tiene que hacer.
Yeah, the specifics of the comments that she has to address will be made available to her during the week by the registrar, Mr. Daniel Chiganda.
Así que las correcciones o consideraciones que ella tiene que poner en cuenta estarán enviados a ella por correo electrónico esta semana por el registro general de la universidad.
Yeah, but basically it is from the observations today from the panelists, from the opponent, and also from the examiners' reports, both external and the internals.
Y todas estas han sido las observaciones de todas las partes, tanto los examinadores externos, tanto como los supervisores y todos el oponente que puso un buen trabajo esta tarde y todos aquellos que han apoyado a ella para llegar a este momento.
Yeah, but generally we agreed that she needs to add some details on the methodology and justify a methodological choice vis-a-vis the sample that she has in the thesis, and then also we think some of the recommendations do not exactly now come from the conclusions, even though they might be in the body of our work. So she may have to rewrite the conclusion more emphatically, and then to ensure that the recommendations are drawn from the conclusion that she has.
En general, solo serán la corrección de la metodología que ella tendrá que hacer, y también, como ellos han observado, ella tendrá que hacer tanto las recomendaciones que ellos han puesto para ella, como también las recomendaciones que ella ha puesto en su trabajo, que ellos han reconocido que, aunque no estén dentro de lo que ella ha hecho, será algo que ella ha observado por sí misma y está apoyando a este cuerpo de aprendizaje de lenguas, así que ella tendrá que hacer estas revisiones a lo largo del tiempo.
And then maybe lastly, as indicated earlier by one of our panelists, we want to see your contributions in the thesis. We want to see your contribution come out clearly in your thesis, and then your work should also be professionally edited so that it comes out well.
Así que como resumen de lo que ha hecho los panelistas, la candidata tendrá que hacer unas aportaciones de su trabajo y ella lo tendrá que hacer también en una forma un poco más formalizado para que este trabajo sea de gran calidad y para que también contribuya a nuestro viaje de aprendizaje de lenguas en nivel institucional.
Yeah, and then lastly, our next graduation is going to be on, well, the date hasn't been decided, but it's going to be at the end of February 2026. But for Abius to graduate at that time, our work should be with the graduate school already submitted without any issue by deadline of the 31st of December. But to give room for any other little thing which might arise, our suggestion is that Abius should aim at ensuring that she has finished all our revisions and also attended to other administrative requirements of the university by the 10th of next month. That's just about a month. And we believe she can actually do that so that she gives time for, for this to be handled in time. Thank you.
Para concluir, los panelistas han puesto un reto para la candidata que para graduarse en los finales de febrero bueno, la graduación está prevista para los finales de febrero el año que viene, pero para poder graduar ese día o esa fecha, en estas fechas, ella tendrá que entregar su trabajo el 10 de diciembre, que ellos piensan que es bastante trabajo, pero confían en la candidata que ella lo va a poder hacer.
Yeah, so congratulations, Abius. You work hard. The rest is up to you. If you want to complete this journey within the time that we have, or if you want to push it further, all the ball is all in your court. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our. Yes. Yeah. So, the person who is going to ensure that Abius has addressed all these things that we've talked about is our supervisors, which I think is Professor Togboa and Professor Garcia, who is online. So the panel has agreed that the two of you will continue to support Abius to ensure that she addresses these comments and she improves the quality of her thesis from good, maybe, to very good or excellent. Yeah, I think that's all, Registrar. Is there anything else?
De parte de los panelistas, ellos quieren dar las felicitaciones a la candidata por el gran trabajo que has podido hacer y este momento que da muchísimo orgullo a todos los que están aquí y tanto aquellos que no están aquí. Así que ellos dicen, los panelistas dicen que tendrás que seguir trabajando con los supervisores, la profesora, bueno, la Prof Togboa y la Prof Garcia, que está online, para poder alcanzar las pequeñas revisiones que quedan y así poder graduarse en los finales de febrero. Muchísimas gracias por todos los que han podido hacer que ella llegue a este momento y por el gran trabajo que habéis puesto para que este momento llegue y felicidades a la candidata.
Yeah, so I think that is all from us. Any other issue or clarification, if it is not clear, will be provided by the Office of the Dean or the Office of the Registrar. But I think we've tried our best to clarify the processes going forward. And I believe what is left is very minor compared to where the candidate has actually come from. So congratulations.